You're welcome back. It's still Business Morning on Channels Television, and do remember that the MPC decision will be on live in our special extended Business Incorporated edition today at 1:30. So do join us then for that information. And just before we get into all of that, a little bit of talking about being a billionaire. I remember a popular slogan some time ago: to be a millionaire, think like a millionaire. But to be a billionaire, it's all about habits. Habits define us, they determine our decisions, and our decisions determine our destiny. How successful or unsuccessful we'll be in life. This is one principle which is captured in the book Billionaire Habits, and the author, Dr. Stephen Akintayo, the managing director of G-Tex Homes, joins us to talk about these habits that will make us billionaires.
I hope I have those habits.
You're about to find out.
Yeah, we'll find out. Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Well,
Good to see you.
I know you're being a billionaire. Does it have anything to do with the MPC?
No, not at all.
Because that's our focus. Like today in Nigeria, we are waiting for 1:30 and all that.
Yes.
But you said you talked about the habits of being a billionaire. What are some of those habits, and how do you form them? Do they come from your parents when you're growing up? Do you adapt them as you're growing up?
Or DNA?
I think the same way you've never seen a born journalist, right? So you don't have a there are of course people who by parent maybe through will, but in terms of the habits, you are not born with it. You develop them over time. And one of the ways to develop them is actually through apprenticeship, because professors don't teach them the university. So you don't learn them through formal education, but by meeting people who are billionaires and learning from them is the way to the top. And everybody who has ever become a billionaire, even in Nigeria, you look at Dangote, how he was mentored by his uncle. You always see that trace of how to learn under somebody else. I was an apprentice to somebody else. I pick up certain principles. And usually the story is always that I probably, used my allowance, or I got a loan, but the money they got is never commensurate to the wealth they built. So it tells you that it was really the habit that led to the growth, and not necessarily what you get. Yeah.
Okay.
So what are some of those habits?
Well, there are many of them discussed in the book. One of it, which is I often share, is about two poor people cannot help themselves. One must first get to the top before he throws the rope to help the other one. And so one of the habits is actually, building a culture of connecting with people who are financially better than you, so that you can, of course, move to the top. But oftentimes we don't even do that. You see, there's a song, Olowo Shore Olowo, Otoshi Shore Otoshi, right?
And for those who don't understand Yoruba.
Meaning the poor is a friend of the poor, the rich is the friend of the rich. And usually that is the reason why you see poverty being perpetuated from one generation to the other among poor people, and wealth almost remaining, except when you then have a bastard child that wastes, and squanders the money. But usually you see the wealth still circling because of the network, because your network determines your net worth.
Okay.
Is that why you said in your book that the rich are arrogant? Are they arrogant?
No, they're not really. But the perception of a poor person is that if you're wealthy, you are arrogant, because it takes certain principles, right, to build wealth. For example, I can't remember the last time I bought Ashwebi, and I probably can afford to start a company that produces that, right? But it's just a waste. At my wedding, we're less than 20, right? I just don't have the luxury of wasting money, right? So,
luxury of wasting.
So these are some of the habits.
These are some of the habits. So if you come to me as a relative and you tell me of how your grandfather has died, and they must know, they must take, and as your uncle or your brother, I must give you money, and I'm asking, I don't even do such, right? Personally, it's not a habit that I have for myself, so why should I necessarily do that? So you can then term that to be arrogance.
So instead of funding other people's habits,
yeah,
right, basically.
Exactly.
All right, so what is the most important trait to be a billionaire? What's the most important habits to cultivate?
Well, I think it's diligence. There are two. I was sharing a devotion with my staff this morning that there are two things I've never seen with any billionaire. I've never seen a billionaire that's a gossiper. You know, again, we're not talking of corrupt politicians here. You know, so when we analyze billionaires, we're talking about people who work hard for their money, they're entrepreneurs, and so that people get it. Because in this part of the world, whenever you say certain things, what comes to mind is how they stole 16 point something billion, So we're talking about people who legitimately made money. So I've never seen a billionaire that's a gossiper. It's straight up. I don't like this, I don't like this. What he says behind you, probably say in your presence. But the second one, I've never seen a lazy billionaire. Right? I've never seen a billionaire that is lazy. I woke up, after 3 this morning. Okay. And that's the attitude. And I was sharing with her, I said, I work averagely 16 hours a day. I cannot be at the same level with the person who does 8 hours a day. It doesn't work that way.
But, being a billionaire is one thing, but actually keeping that status is another thing. How do you maintain that status?
Well, it's because there are 3 ways to this. You need to know how to make money. That's step 1. You need to know how to manage money. That's step 2. You need to know how to multiply money. So where you are talking about now is managing money. Right, and that's really a place of mentorship and sound advisors, right? So you have to have great mentors who have gone ahead of you, because success is not a destination; it's a journey, right? I have a lot of, average of my mentors are billionaires in dollars that I'm learning from to say, I've just started, I need your help, and that's their attitude really. It's not like you get somewhere and you have arrived; it's a journey.
Keep going. And talking about management habits, the parts in the book when you talked about management, you mentioned emotional intelligence.
Yes.
Yeah, and that seems to be something that is in the ICT world these days. So how do you blend the money management and emotional intelligence?
So, what I think I came up with that concept of emotional intelligence when it comes to investment. Now, usually when you say emotional intelligence, general emotional intelligence, particularly when it comes to relationship with people. But I came up with a term, emotional intelligence, when it comes to the concept of investment. So you see people do all manner of Ponzi schemes, right? Invite their family members, relatives to put their money, and then you hear stories of people committing suicide. Now, a real entrepreneur doesn't do that, because you understand that there are 3 types of investment: low risk, mid risk, and high risk. Now, all these Ponzi schemes fall under high risk investment, and you don't even if you want to do such, you don't put all your eggs in one basket. You spread all your risk. So the culture and the concept of managing money and then just carrying all your money, and then putting it in one Ponzi scheme and thinking wealth is about luck, money is mythical, those are some of the things that needs to go. And that's part of why I decided to write the book, because I realized that in this part of the world, we do not educate people. You check the media, check foreign media, you see conversation around all the wealthy people writing a book or having a coaching program or organizing some seminars or the other. But in this part of the world, nobody is teaching anything.
Writing the book is one thing. Getting people to read the book is another thing.
Yeah, and that's part of why we need you media to put reading to become a mainstream conversation, right? The same way you see twerking, music, and all these things has become mainstream. We also have to put that conversation of books, and then of course our successful people need to write it. I want to see you write a book on how you built a successful media empire. I want to see that, right? If we all start doing something around that, then people know that something about this book thing, okay, maybe I should start reading, because it then draws people. Naturally, if you really are serious about becoming wealthy and you heard somebody write a book on billionaire habit, I think you get a copy of that book, right? If you want to become a successful journalist and a John Momo of China's television writes a book on how to, how he built his media empire, you want to read something like that. But we just need to begin to speak to people who are successful in different sectors to say, let's start, because hope has been starved, from the hearts of young people in this country. right? You don't even have something to look up to. When we were growing up, you know, there were things, there were people like MK Abiola, there are things you were aspiring to be like. There were people you were aspiring to be like, and they were there in your face. But now it's like everybody's withdrawn to their shelf, and we're just looking and like, you know what, whatever happened to this nation. But every great country you've seen, America has over 18,000 millionaires, not even millionaires. China is number 2 with I think 4,000. So what that shows you is that the bigger the economy, the bigger the number of millionaires in that economy. So do you want Nigeria to become big? Government has no business with business. You need to begin to empower entrepreneurs. Young people need to go into business. They need to have people they can look up to. They need to have role models. I'm not saying politicians. And you media need to put those role models in their faces so that they can look up to such people.
Yeah, and you know, it's also important when you say the bigger the country, the higher the number of millionaires or billionaires, you know, but also the path to their billionaire or millionaire, because we have celebrated some people and later had the news of how their wealth were not clean. You know, so
but we're investigative journalists, right? So it's our job, right? Before because I think sometimes one of the challenges to that is because even the media is commercialized to a huge level. So the people who have, you know, the means to be out there have to have some substance. And then sometimes if you don't even have on your own, I am doing this because, I mean, I was born poor and I really vow to God. I mean, I trek this Lagos, I trek almost everywhere. So it was a personal message that, Lord, if you bless me, I want to teach people. I want people to know how they can make it legitimately. But on a normal day, I mean, you are busy with, you have a lot to do, and then you want to teach somebody. I mean, as long as it's not commercially viable, that's the last thing you want to think of.
All right, and your book is available for anyone to purchase? Absolutely.
We even do a global virtual launch, you know, online, and they could go to my website, stevenakintayo.com, and they can register to it. June 1st, we're going to be doing global virtual launch, so you can buy it, but it's also on Amazon. It's on the website also, and we're doing a global review where a lot of us are coming together discussing this, because for me, the conversation around entrepreneurship has to become mainstream. If we really want to end insecurity, if we really want to empower young people, if we want to end unemployment, because you need to start a business to provide jobs, and those jobs end up, you know, taking care of other things.
All right, thank you so much, Dr.
Thank you for having me.
The MD CEO of GTEX Homes, for sharing these billionaire habits with us.
Thank you. Yeah, you guys have a copy.
Oh, thank you so much.
So this is yours.
How generous of you.
This is yours.
So I guess our habits will start changing.
Yeah, my billionaire comes now. Thank you so much,
Thank you for having me. I
and enjoy the rest of your day.